At a conference about Iran in Washington, D.C. on November 19th, experts said the West should not make Cold War analogies to explain its current position vis-à-vis Iran, since that country cannot be compared to the former Soviet Union, and doing so will limit the options available in dealing with Iran. Martin Kramer, a scholar from the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and the Academic Research Salam Center in Israel, said, quote,
"In this Cold War template, Iran is substituted for the Soviet Union. The problem with the analogy is that it presumes Iran has the kind of superpower clout that the Soviet Union had."
The remarks are made during a conference entitled Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, Tehran's War Against the West by Proxy, sponsored by the Hudson Institute, a conservative think tank based in Washington. Kramer noted that several facts make the Cold War analogy a weak one. Iran has only 1 to 2% of the U.S. gross domestic product and military expenditure. Iran is incapable of invading other countries or selling advanced weapon systems to its allies, nor does it have nuclear weapons capability, saying, quote,
really to the key problem with the Cold War analogy. It hides Iran's weakness. And in doing so, it tilts the U.S. approach to Iran away from prevention, possibly preemption, and toward containment and deterrence, away from confrontation and thus towards engagement.
He then accused the West of, quote,
by prematurely promoting Iran from the status of a third world upstart to a major power and treating it as such, our policy elite has waged psychological warfare against ourselves.
Although Kramer did not provide any concrete policy alternatives, he supported the position cited by U.S. Ambassador to Iraq, Ryan Crocker, who in a reply last May to a question about the Cold War analogy with Iran, said, quote, "I don't think so. The Soviet Union was a formidable force at its height, with a massive nuclear arsenal. It had half of Europe locked in its grasp. Iran simply does not carry anything remotely like that weight, not internationally, not even regionally." Kramer concluded with, quote,
"Then why do we demoralize ourselves and feed Iran's ambition with flattering analogies?"
Much of the day-long conference focused on analyzing Iran's proxy wars. Mehrav Vermser from the Hudson Institute opened the conference by saying, quote, "While the West has focused its attention on Iran's nuclear weapons program, it has largely excluded the proxy wars it wages through Hezbollah and Hamas." Shmuel Bar, a veteran of Israel's intelligence services, presented findings of his research analyzing documents of the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah that led him to conclude that Hezbollah is nothing short of, quote, "an Arabic-speaking Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps." He emphasized the notion of direct obedience of Hezbollah to its Iranian patrons, and specifically to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei. Bar concluded by saying Hezbollah, over which Iran exercises direct control, contrasts with Sunni extremist groups, who are more loosely organized and do not have a strict military-style hierarchy.